Welcome back, everyone. And oh my God, have I got a banger of a show for you today. I mean, listen, the back and forth between Blake Lively and her lawyers, not even Justin Baldoni. Justin Baldoni's like, I'm out. I was a victim of the Mean Girl Playbook. I'm done. I basically won. And now Blake Lively is saying, no, it can't be. There must be more. Yeah, so today I've got this banger. My friend Alison Boshoff came out with the most amazing, explosive story today. And we're going to go through parts of it because her story was why Blake Lively was desperate to settle and how she and Ryan Reynolds wanted to destroy Justin Baldoni and his bombshell next move. It's the dumbest act of self-sabotage I've seen in 30 years in showbiz. Sources told Alison. So her story then goes on. Don't worry, we're getting to Alison in a minute. What an entrance Blake Lively made to the Met Gala on Monday night. Only hours after the humiliation of settling the lawsuit she brought against her former co-star, Justin Baldoni, she ascended the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York in archival 2006 Versace, waving an imperious finger to make sure that her male attendants arranged the train of the gown correctly. The optics were everything. Garlanded with diamonds loaned by Lorraine Schwartz, she was here to reclaim her status as a gilded member of the elite almost before the ink was dry on the agreement with Baldoni. Inside, there were further power plays. Lively was at the table, hosted by Anna Wintour, the Vogue boss, who's an old friend and also happens to run the Met Gala this year in conjunction with the controversial sponsors, Amazon billionaire founder Jeff Bezos and wife Lauren. Nothing could be more sweetly reaffirmed that Blake was back with a capital B. 17 months after launching the extraordinary lawsuit against Baldoni's Wayfarer Studios, accusing him of sexual harassment, Lively was inviting, or maybe commanding, that everyone should not only bow the knee to her beauty, style, and connections, but also forget the staggering mean girl behavior, which was revealed in her megabucks lawsuit following the filming of the 2024 hit, It Ends With Us. Namely, how she'd removed control of the film from director Baldoni, whom she described to pal Taylor Swift as a, quote, doofus and a clown. How she insisted on editing the film and on her edit being used, even though an executive at Sony said she was behaving like a terrorist, and how Baldoni and his family were not even permitted to watch the premiere in the same auditorium as Blake and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, but ended up sitting in the basement. The move of going to the Met Gala, not a business as usual move from Blake Lively, but actually just proved exactly what Wayfarer has been dealing with in terms of her character, a source told Alison, who remains angry at this attempt to put a Blake-centric gloss on a long, ugly, expensive legal ordeal. The source added that this case has also been ruled by Blake's giant ego so plainly on display on Monday. Lives have been wrongfully put on hold due to what amounted to nothing more than the whim of an overinflated ego, Alison's source told her. The joint statement announcing the end of the case, which was released on Monday afternoon, ran, "The end product, the movie It Ends With Us, is a source of pride to all of us who work to bring it to life, raising awareness and making a meaningful impact in the lives of domestic violence survivors and all survivors is a goal that we stand behind. We acknowledge that the process presented challenges and recognize concerns raised by Ms. Lively deserve to be heard. We remain firmly committed to workplaces free of improprieties and unproductive environments. It is our sincere hope that this brings closure and allows all involved to move forward constructively and in peace, including a respectful environment online. But don't worry, Blake wasn't done, because then, of course, after she goes to the Met Gala, she starts seeing the blowback. She doesn't like it. The respected entertainment website Deadline, which relies on advertising from big film studios, reported Baldoni blinked in the coverage of this settlement, because of course Blake is never wrong, just FYI. She would never blink. She's always in the right. She's a valiant champion for women, and by women I mean Blake. But let's look at the facts. Blake Lively brought the legal action claiming to have suffered sexual harassment on set, followed by a poisonous PR campaign against her. She has dropped it 1 month after a disastrous judgment, which threw out 10 of her 13 claims on the grounds of harassment, defamation, and conspiracy. Judge Lyman let 3 remaining claims stand: breach of contract, retaliation, and aiding and abetting in retaliation. Justin Baldoni and the team at his film studio Wayfarer have not apologized to her, nor have they paid her a single dollar. The agreement statement also makes no mention of the instances of sexual harassment by Baldoni, which Lively introduced into public view, nor does it refer to the retaliatory campaign, which she insisted Baldoni set in motion. All right, you guys, now for the woman of the hour, Alison Boshoff. Alison, thank you so much. I know everyone is dying to hear from you. And I just have to ask. We all thought thought it would never end with us. And now finally it's kind of ended, except for, geez, oh Pete, she's now claiming a victory. Her lawyers put out a statement yesterday calling the deal a resounding victory. How? And said, by agreeing to this settlement and waiving their right to appeal, Justin Baldoni and every individual defendant now face personal liability for abusing the legal system to silence and intimidate Ms. Lively. Her attorneys, Michael Gottlieb and Ezra Hudson, said Blake's aim was always to expose and hold accountable those who weaponize smear campaigns and retaliatory lawsuits to intimidate and silence survivors. That mission continues. What the hell? You think that after they had put out a statement, they had done a settlement, what the hell is she doing?
I know, and she's going straight back into claiming the retaliatory campaign and the sexual harassment, which were explicitly and for very good reason not in the settlement agreement. So it's the most staggering display of bad faith, entitlement, mean girl. The other side are crying that Blake is the one who's doing the smearing at this point. And, isn't she? Because the judge said, there was this, do you remember that scene where Baldoni and Blake were doing a slow dance? And this was one of the instances, the key instances, when she said she'd been sexually harassed. And the judge said, no, he's an actor. They're acting like two people who are really hot for each other. He didn't overstep. You've got to be able to do a little bit of improvisation. That's not harassment. That's acting. Okay. Yeah. So, and then we go through all of this. I hear, by the way, that the actual figure that she personally has spent on lawyers, or owes them rather, I don't know if she's paid yet, is 35 million.
35 million.
35 million.
Wow.
The rest is any of that, the other side.
Is any of that going to be covered by insurance? Because she brought the lawsuit. I think his company is covered by insurance, but I'm not sure about her.
I'm not sure about her. It's absolutely astonishing. It's just this continued aggression, this inability. It's almost like a pathological inability to accept that perhaps you're in the wrong, and you've stitched together this the world's most expensive fig leaf so that everyone gets to exit with dignity. And then 3 days later, you go, no, the hell with it. I don't like the way everyone's saying I lost. I won. And you just can't help yourself. I mean, there's that great phrase. Is it the thing in America as well? When you're in a hole, stop digging. Is that one for you guys?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
I mean, hello. When you're in a hole, a $35 million hole, stop digging.
Well, she hasn't, though, because then they settle the lawsuit and immediately she says she is still going to sue for legal fees. How is this possible?
Well, this is a technicality, and that bit, it's only not all the legal fees, it's just some of them. So that's kind of a minor side issue. The bigger issue is her stated determination to keep on coming over the retaliatory campaign, which they deny they ever did. And over the sexual harassment. I mean, what in a nutshell, okay, so her sexual harassment claims were mostly tossed on the grounds of a technicality because she wasn't really an employee. It's very boring. However, the judge had indicated, as I mentioned before, that he really wasn't buying that some miscommunication, some bad atmosphere on set actually amounted to sexual harassment. That's a criminal thing. The bar is pretty high. It would have to be really pretty bad. And then the retaliatory campaign, what Blake's side say is this is just Blake underestimating the intelligence of people on the internet. This is not like you, my darling. This is not a highly paid team, sending out stuff via bots. This is the internet doing what the internet does, which is everyone going, oh, don't you remember when Blake was a mean girl? And like my friend Kirsty Floor, who I spoke to, who's the congratulations on your little bump. And she was driving home with her husband and Blake had just launched this lawsuit. And she turned to him, her partner's husband, and said, do you remember that interview? And when she was so mean to me, I think I might put that up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So she did. And everyone lost their minds and it became a massive damaging story to Blake because here she was being mean, like punching down for no reason. And the whole story with Baldoni is principally, from where I'm sitting, one of someone who is so much wealthier, so much more powerful, punching down. It's a punching down story. This is someone who's got him taken off the movie, got him fired by his agents, got her agents to scare everybody in Hollywood into trying to accept her version of the story in which she is the victim. And in fact, the truth is everybody who has read the court papers and all the documents, there's one person who seems to be an aggressor who's done some bad stuff. And that is not the person who ended up at the premiere of the movie sitting on a pallet of Dasani water bottles in the basement. That is the person who got to do the red carpet.
Well,
that's the aggressor, right?
It's funny you bring up Kirsty Flaw, because after Kirsty posted that video and she was like, wow, Blake made me feel horrible too, and she posted the video, the next thing you know, Blake's attorneys then go out and start trying to get via Google everyone's bank records because they are convinced that Kirsty and you bigger people like Candace Owens or Perez Hilton, bigger people. And then you also have people who weren't even monetized, who had 300 followers.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
YouTube, and they wanted to get their bank records because they said, well, you must have been paid to say all this stuff, because obviously no one in their right mind would go against Blake. She's so fabulous. And
she just couldn't stand being unpopular. I mean, that's the truth of it. Yeah, she couldn't stand that people didn't like her. That's what the whole thing boils down to. Because she should have just let this go by. There was a bit of noise around the premiere. Is this guy a creep? Why is nobody following him anymore? Something's obviously gone on set. Oh, is Blake a bit mean? She should have just ridden that the hell out. Just leave it. She would be sitting pretty.
It was her people who dropped. I remember before the movie came out, there were all these stories that everyone unfollowed Justin Baldoni. How the hell would you know if they followed or unfollowed him, right?
Why would you bother looking at that? Because he's a nobody at that point.
It was dropped that they unfollowed him. Then it was dropped that he was kind of creepy. And, so for all of these things, it seems like it was like he felt like he was being gaslit. But it always reminds me of this saying that my Aunt Dee used to say, which is just because you're paranoid does not mean they're not after you. And it was bonkers, Alison, because it turns out everything that he thought was happening actually was happening.
Yeah,
And
I know.
now
Those pitiful text messages with him and his friends as it unfolds, going, "I'm really scared of going to this meeting," and you're like,
yes,
you think, "Oh, what a dweeb," and then you think, "No, you're right to be scared because these guys are literally out to get you." And
literally.
we've all seen the Taylor Swift messages. They're actually, these two mean girls, sorry, Taylor fans, congratulating each other on how brilliantly they're ruining this idiot's life.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
nice.
it's funny because a lot of people have said, well, why did she do this if she wasn't harassed? And to that, I've said, she knew this movie was going to be a big hit and she wanted control of the sequel so that she could knock Justin out and be everything in the sequel, make all the money through. And what people seem to forget sometimes is that through the control and kind of worming her way, she made him sign a letter saying she would be a producer in the Producers Guild. And by doing that, she could then produce, direct, and star in the sequel, which is what he had done. He had plucked this book out of nowhere, set himself up to produce, direct, and star, and she wanted that.
But you know what? He actually does have the rights to the sequel, because I did ask, because this was all unfolding. Who's got the rights to the sequel, by the way? And it is him. It's obviously never going to be made.
No. I actually feel like they should make it and just recast. At this point, why the hell not? But let me show you a little video that we can all watch together of Brian Friedman, because I want to talk about, Blake is talking, she's now setting herself up to be Miss, how do I put this? I'm the warrior for women. And let us watch what Brian Friedman says. This is him talking to Extra.
Which side?
Hold on, let me get rid of this. This, frankly, everyone knows this happens to me constantly.
Came to the table first. I think there was an urgency to try and get it done as quickly as possible. I think that Justin and the other individuals felt pretty comfortable where they were. I can't talk about the terms of the settlement, but what I can tell you is that he is ecstatic that both Jamie and Justin are ecstatic at the results of this, and the settlement itself. They are very pleased with where this ended up. So I think where Justin is Justin wants to help people who have suffered similar experiences when they felt like they were accused of something they did not do and went and fought all the way and won in summary judgment and got that. I think what Justin wants to do is to help other people and to be a leader for helping other people in that way. I know that he will help people that have experienced similar trauma. And I know that he will continue to advocate for women and advocate for women's rights and advocate for the domestic violence, survivor community, which has been unfortunately overlooked by this battle that went on of epic proportions. And I know that he will continue to work for the domestic violence survivors.
All right, Alison. So I have several thoughts on that. Number one, Justin Baldoni did have a proven track record of wanting to fight for domestic violence survivors. He also wanted to market the movie as a domestic violence movie, whereas Blake, in all of her and Ryan's wisdom, decided to market it as a chick flick of grab your florals and your friends and meet at the movie. And she's also come out, like the year after she filed the lawsuit, she was honored, and I use that term very loosely, for her work with the NAACP, I believe. And it turns out she had given a couple of million years before, but the reason why she gave the couple of million was after she and Ryan got married on a plantation wedding, and she talked about how great it was. And so to get her, to be like, oops, I'm sorry. And then they got Time Magazine to honor her as, being an activist. But, giving money as an apology and then doing no work for the NAACP after, what the hell?
Yeah, so I think Brian Friedman made a bit of a misstep there, because Blake Lively and her lawyers would have watched that and seen that basically Justin Baldoni is preparing to take a victory lap and thought, no. So from what I hear, he wants to write a book, about his experiences. Wow. Yeah.
Wait, so I'm cutting you off because I got to ask you, is the book going to be about this case?
Yes. Yes. His experiences of the case and this case. And he also is in negotiations with various people to do a full, big sit-down, on-the-record interview about how he's been to hell and back. Because Brian said, I can't tell you the terms of the settlement. I can. Okay.
Great. But the terms of the settlement is he can talk now.
There is no NDA. Okay. They can both talk. So, and I think this was possibly a tactical error on the Blake side, but they were desperate to settle. Okay.
Why were they so desperate? Tell me that.
Because the judge had thrown out the whole meat and potatoes of the case. So there wasn't anything left. They weren't left with anything. And, I think the lawyers had reason to feel a bit nervous, because the lawyers should have seen the problem about the technicality which led to the dismissal of all the sexual harassment. That piece of law is not obscure. They should have seen that one coming, and not got this far down this road. So, Blake could have a case to actually sue her lawyers. I mean, she loves legal action. Who frigging knows at this point? I did actually
hear she might sue. She's hired a bunch of whole new lawyers, so she might actually sue her old lawyers.
Yeah, she's furious that she has to settle. But there was really, from that point, April the 4th, there really was no question that it was going to be a settlement. In fact, when I spoke to someone on that day after the summary judgment, and they said, we think it's going to take about 2 weeks to wrap this up. It actually took 4. But there was never a doubt that they were going to have to settle after that, because they didn't really have any case left. Apart from what they were left to prove was this retaliatory campaign that they said was had been done by the other side. They had already by that point said that it was untraceable. That's what the lawyers had already said. So how are you going to prove in court that someone's performed an untraceable retaliatory campaign? I mean, it's impossible. So they were left with nothing. So the lawyers were saying to her from April the 4th, settle. We must settle. And they've settled for 0 cents and an anodyne statement which doesn't apologize to her. Doesn't say she was sexually harassed. I know her lawyers are saying the statement does say she was sexually harassed. It really doesn't. No, and the other side are going to deny sexual harassment till the end of their days. I can tell you that for free. Well, so the battle absolutely continues now. I mean, I can't bear it because I'm really sick of it. But yeah.
But here's the deal, Alison. If she keeps coming out and saying that she was sexually harassed by him and keeps saying this, does he have a case now to say, knock it off, we settled? Can he go after her and say,
I wonder, I mean, his initial retaliatory suit, which was defamation against the New York Times for their report of her legal action, and defamation for her, that was thrown out. However, could he bring another defamation suit? Yes, he could, because it is a restatement. So yeah, the offence has been recommitted, the alleged offence.
Totally. So, yeah, and also, I want to point out that his suit was only thrown out because she had filed in a protected area as a whistleblower. And so they said you can't sue for defamation in a whistleblowing suit. So that is, and
that's how she's trying to reintroduce all of this as part of the whole whistleblowing protections. Yeah. She thinks she's the whistleblower. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is interesting. And I do hope, as someone in the comments put, I hope she goes with Diane Sawyer, not Oprah, or I hope he goes with Diane Sawyer, not Oprah. I don't care where she goes. Although I would watch it just to be like, let me pick everything apart.
Yeah. So I think I hear what she's going to say, because she's going to speak as well. and she's going to use it to launch a sort of Meghan and Harry style charity type thing, which is all for victims of online abuse, because she feels that she's been trolled online. She has been trolled online. I mean, for sure she has. Whether it's someone else's fault, I don't, we can debate. But yeah, that's what she wants to do. And she's going to do it all in the name of her children and, to protect the little kiddywinks from future online harms. That's going to be the big thing.
Oh my God.
So wait for that.
Are you kidding?
But yeah, Justin's got a story to tell and he really wants to tell it. I mean, I don't know if her statement will stop him from going ahead. I don't think it will, actually. I think Brian Friedman's, a very definite person, will be giving him advice to just go the heck ahead.
Yeah, but also, how cynical can she be? First of all, she seems to have zero self-awareness. Doesn't understand from day one. I mean, I remember back in the early 2000s when I was at the New York Post covering Gossip Girl, and she had a horrific reputation on set and horrifically, allegedly, in my opinion, bullied Leighton Meester and got people fired or tried to get people fired. And, here's a girl, and I get it.
And Armie Hammer as well as Armie
Hammer. Yeah, 100%.
We went on the record about that. Yeah.
And, here's a girl who's been told from day one, you're the golden child. You can do no wrong. So perhaps this is just the first time in her life somebody's been like, and by somebody, I mean, everyone who has seen her behavior said, not cool, honey. And because they're saying not cool, she's like, you must be paid. You must be mentally deficient because I am amazing. And I thought it was hilarious that she showed up to the Met Gala because Anna Wintour is the queen of mean. So the mean girl shows up to the Queen of Mean's gala and is like, look, I'm back in like yet another Princess Versace dress. And you just think, I don't know if this is the appropriate year, time, or event for you to be doing this, girlfriend. Perhaps you should have stayed home with the kids that you profess you want to spend all this time with,
Well, I'm never going to tell someone to stay home with their kids when there's a party to go to. I mean, go, but there is problematic behavior here, isn't there? In fact, someone, I wrote a piece ages ago while this was all churning away saying, is Blake's reckoning the Me Too moment for little people? And the whole article was all the people, all the hairdressers and the drivers and the fans looking for autographs and all these people who independently of any campaign came out and on Reddit boards and on, YouTube shows and everything else just went, yeah, hey, Blake was mean to me. Blake was mean to me, all of them. And I think it was a kind of Me Too for little people, actually, that Blake sparked because everyone was like, listen, this woman was mean.
Yeah, she was horrifically mean, but also didn't understand and then got the power play. So I want to talk about that real quick for a minute. Just why and how she and Ryan were so aggressive with Justin Baldoni from the start and doing things like, again, I know I don't have to remind you about this, but come to my trailer. I'm just breastfeeding. And then they came in while I was breastfeeding. Or, oh my God, I had to do a birthing scene and I was naked. She wasn't. She had Spanx on. And you don't give birth fully clothed unless you're in a taxi cab. And even then, you got to take your pants off. But it's, just because the baby's got to go somewhere. And that's not on purpose, anyone. But why were they so aggressive? I just don't get this.
It is odd, isn't it? And, when they had a break during filming and Ryan Reynolds, introduced and wrote the character of Nice Pool just to lampoon Justin Baldoni. This guy is a worm in the ecosystem. Why were they so hell-bent on destroying? It wasn't enough to embarrass him, to have him sitting on the Dasani water in the basement. That wasn't sufficient. They then had to actually destroy the guy. And I don't understand it. And, we've all read those text messages and emails from Ryan Reynolds. And, he sent an email of, text message of over 1,000 words to his agent demanding that he help him take Baldoni down. And the agent replied in a kind of nervous way, let's have a phone call about this, because I don't feel I can respond to you in the appropriate, with enough anger. This guy was, a light. They could power the grid with their anger to want to destroy him. And, you start to think, is this just the ugly side of Hollywood, where people who are powerful feel entitled to just simply have their own way? Is this like a toddler tantrum that you didn't get your own way? I mean, can that really be as simple as that?
Well, it actually feels like, it reminds me of schoolyard bullying, right? Where bullies pick on the weak because that makes them feel stronger. They don't go up against people who are as strong or powerful as them. So, for example, Paul Feig, who has also directed Blake Lively, is saying, "Oh, she's always been lovely to me." Well, that's because you're a powerful director, Paul. And it wasn't. And meanwhile, they looked at Justin, and as you said, he was a worm in the system. Why would they go after him? And I think it was really a classic bullying, nasty move. Let's get this guy, and then
and it kind of, you can't sit with us, I'm here with Hugh Jackman and Taylor Swift. You can't be part of our gang. I know we said, welcome to the gang. And, I'll have the director's name tattooed on my perineum if you move this filming as a favor to me. Justin, I adore you, says Ryan Reynolds. And then he goes, no, I'm just kidding, Gay. You can't sit with us. We don't like you, actually.
That is, it literally reminded me of not even high school bullying, grade school bullying. And, I feel like Ryan had been asking Blake to settle for a year, because Ryan, frankly, I think is a little smarter and reads the room a little bit, because he was also suffering in his career. It came out that he's not so nice. And a lot of people other actors he had worked with had started coming out and being like, yeah, he was kind of a jerk to me. And they gave on the record interviews about him being a jerk. And instead of burying them, Ryan was like, I'm so sorry. I made you feel that way. And then the people would come back out, like the guy in Deadpool. And he was like, yeah, okay, I guess he's changed maybe. Maybe I read it wrong, because Ryan made him feel bad. And, that's another manipulative tactic. But he definitely saw what was going on and then looked at Blake and was like, you need to settle. And she was like, no. And he has since told friends who gave interviews, wink, wink, when he's seen her like this, when she gets something in her craw, she won't let it go. But I mean, she kind of ruined herself. She had so many people looking at her and going, oh my God. And with Discovery, people calling her a terrorist, and how she did this to herself, and how she tried to market the movie with her hair care line and with her booze, even though domestic violence is brought on by booze. But it really struck me, Alison, that, I started writing last year that nobody in Hollywood wanted to work with her anymore, because number one, she's litigious. She's proved it. Number two, nobody feels safe with her anymore on a set.
Wow, yeah.
And also the fact that she went hundreds of thousands of dollars over budget, and she wasn't even the director or the producer. She just bullied her way into it. So do you think people will work with her again?
People will always work with her, I'm sure, but I don't think audiences are buying it. And I do think that any studio would be nervous of the reaction, because Blake wasn't brought down. Well, she was brought down by Blake, but she wasn't really brought down by anybody other than the intelligence of people online who read everything and made up their own minds. And people always underestimate the public and their intelligence. And I just think that this has proved that, her reputation is completely in the dumper. Someone will employ her to play some, and it'll be, some small part playing a kind of queen bitch. And, it'll, the casting will be the talking point in itself, but, she's not going to get cast in some kind of Edith Wharton adaptation in which she gets to be the great heroine of, you know, some wonderful prestige slice of, no, that's not happening, is it? No one's spending their money on that.
Well, and you know, it's so funny because through this, I looked on IMDb and she's got 3 projects in the work, but they are all ones that she is producing because, you know, no one hires you. So you have to go hire yourself. And she's allowed to do this now because she got the producer guild from Justin Baldoni. And I do wonder, though, if she's going to be able to get a distributor. I mean, perhaps that's why she went to the Met Gala, because Anna probably said Jeff Bezos is there and I'm good friends with Lauren Sanchez Bezos, and you can go and make friends, and Amazon will now be your distributor. Kind of like, you know.
I don't know. I mean, she obviously isn't willing to let go of this fight because she desperately needs, for reasons of ego, not money, to continue her career and to continue to be admired. She has a pathological need to be admired, right? So that's what this is about. So, you know, so she's lost. So she's just gone, oh no, I didn't lose, I won, and I'm going to keep on going. And everyone's like, huh, what? You know, when in fact, you know, what could you do? What would anybody advise you to do in these circumstances? I think would be to go away for a long spell. Go away for 5 years, come back. We'll have forgotten. But I think that's literally that's her best option.
But I think she's so furious because she did go away for 5 years. She had her kids, she raised the kids, and she goes, well, now this is my time, right? And then of course she effed up her own comeback, because had she not, as you said before, had she not filed anything, she could have gotten away with being a flaming bitch. She could have gotten away with manipulation. She could have treated Justin horrifically. She could have made William Morris, she and Ryan could have made William Morris fire him regardless. He would have gotten picked up by someone else, but the film would have been a huge hit. And she would have been in demand, and there would have been almost no backlash. There would have been rumors. There would have been people like you and I writing about it. But, you know, a lot of people still don't believe when you and I write things, which I think is ridiculous. But she would have been on top of the world. It's just this bizarre need to really drive the stake home. And
she'd have been going to Taylor Swift's wedding this summer.
Oh,
yeah, true. As well, right?
Oh my God. Well, I love how she tried to put out there that she and Taylor are back to being friends again. And, you know, Taylor wrote the song for her on her album, which, you know, she did. But I can't imagine Taylor Swift ever wanting to deal with that again, not to mention all of her other friends hate her.
I know that Taylor Swift did not speak to her from December, from when that lawsuit was filed.
Yeah.
Until at least, where are we now? Yeah,
2 years.
Till at least pretty recently.
Really? And so they're speaking again, but will that be enough to get her into the wedding?
Would you want that at your wedding? Do you know Taylor Swift is allergic to drama? Tabloid drama. Would you want tabloid drama at your wedding? No.
That's true. That is very true. I just want to say, finally, your source said Blake has put so many women through the shredder for 2 years because she couldn't handle that people don't like her, and she couldn't bear that. Where does she go from here? And by the way, do you think Justin, when Justin, and I'm here for it, he does the book, I think he should do a docudrama and a documentary.
Do it all, Justin.
I think he should do it all because, you know, for people like us, you and I, we fought our way in this business. I, for one, I have been harassed. Did I sue? No. Do I like to believe women? Yes, I do. Do I get very angry when people, especially women, lie because it makes the rest of us look horrific? And when people actually have a case and they go to court, everyone thinks that they're lying because they'll point to something like this. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, old birds like us, Paula, We've all been sexually harassed. It's fine. You know, I remember being, you know, chased around someone's suite at the Beverly Hills Hotel and just going, oh, don't be so ridiculous. Right? You're just like, no, don't be ridiculous.
The amount of men who've been fought off at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Yes.
The title of our memoir. No, look, it is a serious issue. No one should put up with it. For me, it was not the creepy guys, the handsy guys. That's not a problem. You know, I'm 6 foot tall and I've got a loud voice and I'm perfectly able to look after myself. It's not that that's the problem for me. It's the ingrained sexism where you don't rise in your career, you get penalized for going off to have children, you don't get paid properly. I mean, those are all, for me, more pressing and difficult issues. But yes, sexual harassment is horrendous. It should be called out. Nobody should tolerate it. However, if you're making a movie in which you are having to have a lot of sex with somebody, it is kind of tricky if you then say, oh gosh, you know, you said the wrong thing. You said you smell good, and that's sexual harassment.
Yeah. And it turns
just never...
out he was talking about her self-tanner. It's also, you know, my final thought on this, and then I just think I want everyone out there to be aware of what is about to happen. Blake, again, will go on, she, as Alison said, will likely start a charity in the name of her children for domestic violence, for sexual harassment, for online trolling. And she will then try to turn the argument around. It's a classic PR move. And, you know, it's her belief, again, that every one of us is manipulative or manipulatable. Sorry, we are able to be manipulated easily. And that because of social media and because of, you know, the quick news cycle, we will all forget what a complete a-hole she was. So I'm just letting y'all know this. What do you think, Alison? I'm going to give you the last word, and then I'm going to have a little chitty chat with the audience, and then we're going to get on out of here. But your last word, what do you think?
Darling, we always keep score. That's what I think.
I adore you. Thank you, Alison Boshoff. You guys, Alison is the #1 reason, followed closely by Richard Kay and Richard Eden, that I actually pay for the Daily Mail. Period.
Oh, bless you.
Mwah.
Love you, darling.
Thank you, my love.
You're welcome.
Whoops. And I took the wrong person off stage because you guys know I'm a little goosey like that. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you guys again. And remember, like, subscribe, hit the alert so that you don't miss it every time you come on. Boop. There we go. And also subscribe to my Substack, Paula Froelich Uncensored. Link is in the description below, because then you'll get all the breaking news and all the analysis delivered straight to your inbox. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you guys. Take care.